What's going on, everybody? It's just another day in the kitchen, back with another episode, and today's video takes us all the way back to 2016, back when Travis Scott released his second album, Birdsinthetrapsingmcknight. And as you can see in this photo right here, LaFlame was going just as hard back in 2016 as he does today. Now the focus of this video is going to be reviewing the 2016 release of the Birdsinthetrapsingmcknight merch. And speaking of the album, my top 3 songs are probably Goosebumps, Outside, and Lose. Let me know your favorites in the comments, and while you're here, you might as well go ahead and drop a like and subscribe. Now, I'm sure you guys didn't think Travis Scott was going just as hard as he is today with the merch 7 years ago, but you're in for quite a treat. And while he did just drop the latest Utopia merch 2 drop, which I covered in a recent video, the focus of this one is going to be comparing Birds in the Trap merch versus Utopia. And again, shout out to all of you that checked out my video comparing the Astroworld merch to Utopia. And before we dive into this review, I just wanted to give a special shout out to my new friends that I've made throughout these last few videos. It's been a real pleasure getting to connect with you guys, so make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at wedontcookfood, just so you guys can stay up to date with the latest and the greatest, and I'm following all my real ones back, so I appreciate you guys. Now back to discussing this greatness. As you guys can see, we are looking at the Birdsinthetrapsingmcknight merch drop all the way back in 2016. Now if you didn't know, the album originally released back on September 2nd, 2016. However, this merch drop actually came 1 week before the actual album came out. And one thing you guys will notice right off the bat with this Birds merch is that there is a lot of repetition that we'll end up seeing throughout this actual collection. Now, the cool thing is that the price is staying pretty consistent, and as you can see back in 2016, the tees were starting at $40. Now, next up, we've got these really sick Birdsinthetrapsingmcknight long sleeves, which upgraded us to $55, but personally, I think that they're super hard. Now, another thing I wanted to point out, if it's not already obvious from these first 2 pieces, is that we're going to be seeing a lot of bird and eagle related branding, given that the album is called Birdsinthetrapsingmcknight. And while we're looking at these first few pieces, I'd like to know in the comments which colorway you guys prefer. Now next up, we're looking at the trap hoodies right here, which feature the title, again, Birdsinthetrapsingmcknight on the front breast. And I'd like to point out that I think $70 for a hoodie like this, although a little bit generic, is still pretty reasonable, especially for an artist merch drop. Now next up here, we're going to be taking a look at some Birds hats, which I think are pretty hard despite the fact that they're really simple. Again, hats priced for $40 are pretty consistent with the way Astroworld merch hats were as well, and although the Utopia merch hats are a little bit more expensive, I know the quality has also increased with these over the last few years, so again, I just wanted you guys to see. Personally, out of all of these hats, I'd probably have to cop this one right here or the one to the left of it, which I think would probably fit a lot of my outfits just a little bit better. Now, we do have some of my favorite pieces of this collection coming up soon, and of course you could get the album cover tee right here for $40, which it's cool of course, but nothing too crazy. My favorite tees coming up are these right here, which are of course the Lightning t-shirts. And I remember these being pretty popular all the way back in 2016 and 2017 when people started wearing them to support the album. And if you didn't notice with the price, of course, for these, they bumped up by $5, which I don't mind given that there's a hell of a lot more graphic being printed on the tee, so it makes sense. Next up, we've got some trap socks right here, which if you were able to hold on to these for all these years, I'm sure they would have some resale value, because personally, I think that they're pretty hard, and who doesn't love a clean pair of socks? And it just goes to show you that all the way back in 2016, you could basically put together a full outfit and be fully fitted in Travis Scott gear. Next up, we've got this dope Birdsinthetrapsingmcknight shirt, and one thing I want to remark is the merch back in the day was not the greatest. They were definitely printing on Gildan tees, which of course have gotten better with time. However, back then they were not that great. Now we're taking a look at some more kind of novelty items, if you will, and for $40 you could of course pick up a Birdsinthetrapsingmcknight branded backpack. They had these 2 bandanas available here for $15, which I don't think I saw anybody actually pick them up, but I don't hate them at all, and there's a shout out to Texas, given that Travis reps Houston super hard. Now, following up that first backpack we just saw, we've got a black one right here that also features some sick branding from the album, and $40 for a backpack especially is pretty reasonable, I would say. Now, we've got a dope little robe here for $100, and you know I would pick this up today if it was available, just so I could be pretending I'm on my Hugh Hefner-ish, you know, big pimpin'. Now we've got these dope boxers right here, which I would totally pick up today if they were still available. So LaFlame, if you ever watch this or anybody from your team, holla at your boy, man. We got plenty of ideas. Now, something we haven't seen in a merch drop in quite some time for LaFlame is a beanie. So here you can see a Travis Scott merch beanie for a very reasonable price of 30 bucks, which isn't so bad. Now, of course, like I said, that bird, that eagle is all over this merch branding. So as you can tell from back in the day, Travis was definitely the king of merch. And this is before the McDonald's collab, before the Fortnite collab. Anything this dude touched was turning to gold. We're going to see a hell of a lot more random items in this drop. And also let me know if you guys would have also picked up any of the pieces that we've seen together so far. Like I said, we're going to see a lot of random pieces like a duffel bag like this, a pillow and a blanket that we're going to see coming up, and even something that you'd use in the bedroom, if you know what I'm saying. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a whole lot of information when it comes to resale when it came to these items because, like I said, this came out 7 years ago, and this was even before I think the platform StockX was even around, or it was just starting to get around, and they didn't even carry a lot of merch like that. Now, another big point I wanted to talk about is the fact that these merch purchases were not contributing towards the album sales at the time, which if you think about it is pretty insane. So the people that were really picking this up were really his fans and people that were interested in the pieces and people that just wanted to support him. Now, as we saw in the Astroworld merch drop, we also got an ashtray, but unfortunately that's the only real big smoker related thing other than a Zippo lighter, which I think is pretty sick. However, I still would have liked to see some Travis Scott blunt papers or some rolling papers or something lit like that, if you feel me. Now, we're coming up on the last couple of items here, which might be some of my favorite and the goofiest novelty items he's dropped so far, including that plushie there, this big ass flashlight you can whack somebody over the head with, and a condom that, like I said, you can use for the bedroom. So let's get it, guys. If you made it this far, like that condom said, thank you so much for tuning into this drop. I thought it would be really interesting, especially for people that weren't around or that weren't really interested in his merch or his music back in 2016. So if you made it this far, let me know what you guys thought of this video. More heat on the way. I appreciate every single one of you that tunes into these and that subscribes. Also, don't forget, I just dropped in one of my videos that I'm going to be doing a giveaway for a ticket to Utopia. Once that tour is released, we'll find out some more information. But as always, guys, thank you so much for cooking with the kitchen. Stay safe. And as always, it's lit.